I was on September 11, 2001. I was just graduated high school, and I was a student, and I was working a night shift at a grocery store. And so I was getting off work about 5 a.m., 6 a.m. California time here. And so it was right on TV. It was right in the front of my mind.
I was a senior in high school. I was driving to school with my friend when I heard the first tower go down on the radio, and I thought it was a prank at the time.
I was listening to the radio and the DJ's voices were really panicked, and then you mentioned there being a second plane, and then that's when I realized something was really wrong, and then the tower's falling.
It's important to be here at the 9/11 Plaza. It's important to be here, but also 24 years later with children. It's important to be here with kids that weren't alive on that day so they can understand the sacrifices, the heroic deeds people made, and also how our nation and our world changed, and so we can never forget.
September 11th made a huge impact to all of our lives, and I ended up serving in the U.S. Army afterwards, partly because of 9/11.
I helped homeschool my grandchildren, so I brought them here to teach them about this event, and I want my grandchildren to know the history and the strength of America and the sacrifices that are made and the sacrifices that a lot of first responders made on that day, and the importance of always remembering this and handing this information down to our children and grandchildren and all future generations.
Hey guys, welcome. Welcome to Cal Expo, who is currently the home of the largest 9/11 exhibit west of the Mississippi. My name's Craig Walton. I'm the Chief of Police here at Cal Expo. It's my pleasure to be a part of this ceremony of remembrance today. We gather each year and we talk about remembering what happened. And I heard an interesting statistic 5 minutes ago. And it makes sense more to me now than I did before. When we talk to people about 9/11 and how we remember and what happens, apparently 1/3 of our population wasn't even born yet when 9/11 occurred. And thinking about it, it kind of changed my perspective this morning more than anything else. We have Girl Scouts over here. Guarantee they weren't born yet. And I talked to my grandkids who were a year old, 2 years old, 3 years old at the time. And it becomes apparent to me that it's little more than a history lesson. And it's sad because the remembrance of what happened, the worst disaster on U.S. soil in our history, occurred on September 11th. We're here today to remember the ladies, the gentlemen, all of the first responders who gave their lives, who helped out, that risked it all, that came out and were part of the recovery effort and saving those around. We're also here to remember the people who lost their lives, who were the victims. Earlier on, I was talking to one of our local news stations, and the question came up, the beam behind me, how did it get here? What's the story behind it? Well, one of the things, I was fortunate that I was working here at Cal Expo at the time. When this beam was a thought in bringing it out here, it took, and I hate to use the term, an act of Congress, which it did, to bring the beam out here. And the limitations and the restrictions on just getting it to Cal Expo, to California, was tremendous. Not only is it a part of a crime scene, it's part of a terrorist attack. And all of those things played into the fact that from the time it left New York to the time it arrived at Cal Expo, it was actually guarded 24 hours a day by law enforcement. That includes on the trucks, on the trains, from the rail yard at Cal Expo. My part in it was very small. I was here the day it showed up, and I looked at it, and I was in, that is one big piece of metal. And if you think about the history and what's involved with it, each year I look at it a little differently on 9/11, but I'm fortunate that I can come up here anytime I'd like and reflect that this is not only a part of history, but it was a big part of our lives. It molded our future as a nation. It built us stronger. It built unity. And those are the things that we need not forget moving forward. I welcome everybody today. The ceremony is phenomenal, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you.
Yes. That's all.
Good morning. My name is Matt Ducato, and I'm honored to be in front of you today as your MC. We begin our ceremony with invocation. Please welcome Chaplain Norm Powers to the stage. Law Enforcement Chaplaincy, Sacramento.
Appreciate that. Good morning. Now we come together for remembrance of 9/11. What's been happening in the news the last week, 2 weeks, has been a reminder that stuff is still going on, and that people still have different thoughts about how to deal with whatever issues they're having. It's senseless, and it impacts so many people. There are folks say, wait a minute, we disagree until we kill people? Yes, that's what's happening. And that's what this is all about. People had a thought of what they wanted to do, what they expected others to do, because that's what they wanted. So what did they do? They resorted to this. So that's why we're here, is to remember this and to really lift up each other as we struggle to contain and keep our society the way it should be. That's another I want, and being there for each other continually, encouraging each other, because people aren't hurt. And they don't know how to respond to that pain other than lashing out. And you know what? Never works. I respect. They don't believe me. Lord, on the solemn day, we ought to remember the tragic events on September 11, 2001. We honor the men, women, and children whose lives were taken, and we pay tribute to the courage of the first responders, service members, and ordinary citizens who demonstrated extraordinary bravery. We ask your blessings upon the families who continue to bear the weight of the loss, and upon all who serve today to safeguard our nation and preserve our freedoms. Grant them strength, wisdom, and protection. As we gather in remembrance, may this occasion renew our commitment to unity, resilience, and the enduring values that define us as a people. May our words and our actions here today honor the memory of the fallen and reflect our resolve to work towards peace and justice. And to Miriam we pray. And your patch be. Fine.
Thank you, Chaplain, for those words. If you can, please rise. We invite to the stage, led by Captain Andy Eaton, the Sacramento Police Department Honor Guard, for the presentation of colors.
Thank you.
Honor Guard.
March.
Forward. March. Ready, move. Honor guard, halt. Post, color. Freeze and arm. Please welcome to the stage Girl Scout Troop 3096 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Fine, I got it.
Wins.
Good stuff.
And to show the public purposes stands
One.
nation under God,
We welcome to the stage to sing our national anthem with Juliet Kennedy, the Department of California's BMW's Auxiliary Tenants.
Stay and you see why the dawn's early light was so proudly we at the twilight's last gleaming those grand stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watch, western gallantly streaming, and the rockets break through the bombs bursting through the night. That our flag was still there. Oh, sing us that trusting us that wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Okay. Order.
Aaron.
Fire on. Ready. Finish. Face. And the house down. Hold.
Not that you.
And you go on with the theme.
And then Terry with
That. Forward.
March. Look at that.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you take your seats, please put your hands together for Juliet and her rendition of the national anthem this morning. The Girl Scout Training 96, and for the very sharp, always Sacramento Police Department Honor Guard, led by Captain Kanayuki. Good morning.
Hi.
Where's
Morning.
Good morning.
For the sun shines once again. In this moment, we pause to show our respect, to reflect on the lives lost, the lives changed for those still among us, and most importantly, to never forget. Stories of heroism, which we have all heard for 24 years, emerged from that fateful day. The American spirit, as those found out, could not be broken.
Good.
Yes, a little damage, a little bruise, but could not be broken. Native and foreign born spent their lives that morning going to work, not knowing if they'd ever come home. Firefighters racing across the bridge, an iconic photo, Ladder 93. These are memories that stick in our minds, and these are things we must never forget. We can talk about those we've lost, as I've mentioned before. The first certified fatality was NYPD Friar Judge, who raced to the scene to do one thing, and only one thing, and that was to pray for those that were killed, and to pray for his fellow firefighters. Wells Prather, we've talked about him, his red bandana, racing up the stairs several times, never to be seen again, as the North Tower came down. Or the heroic acts of the very first female commander of the New York City Port Authority, Kathy Mazza, using her service weapon to shoot out the windows of the North Tower, just to run back in the building, never to be seen again. We've all heard about John Patrick O'Neill, who in the FBI, 1993, helped bring the original perpetrator of the World Trade Center attack to justice. To retire from the FBI and to spend the rest of his career and the rest of his life serving as chief of security, was last seen that day, ushering people through the courtyard as the buildings fell upon him. As that carnage unfolded, we talked about the Pentagon, the E-ring, thrust into the war on terrorism, as it was crushed during a meeting of the G1, Lieutenant General John Maud, the highest military certified fatality of that day. The 27 members of his G1 staff, civilians and military, never made it home. We could talk about the plane in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The passengers united for one cause, and that's to see their families again. Sandy Bradshaw, the flight attendant,
who was filling pots of boiling water as many carafes as she could, said these last words to her husband. Everyone's running to first class. I've got to go. Bye. Those were the few hours we lost so many. The few hours where everything changed in a single moment. But as it occurred today, 24 years is a long time. 24 years. My story, as I've told, as this twisted steel just sat there and burned in New York City. I walked into a recruiting station in South Sacramento to join the United States Army. Joined by thousands of other people out there that realized we need to do our part. But it has been 24 years, and today feels a little different. 24 years is a long time. It's not a long time for the families that still have a table, an empty chair at the table, closet full of clothes at home, but 24 years is a lifetime, especially the young ones who weren't alive then. So not only do we have to remember and recognize and never forget those we lost that day, but we also need to understand that life went on. Life went on to those who survived, and life went on to the family members that stayed behind. Josephine Smith lost her father, Kevin, who served as the hazmat in the fire department in New York City, suffering the highest loss of any fire station. She's proudly now serving as a firefighter in New York City. Melody lost her husband, Leroy Holler. Leroy was an Air Force pilot. Leroy wanted to fly his entire life. But then he became a veteran and started flying for the majors. In Leroy's honor, and Leroy's legacy as the co-pilot of Flight 93 went down in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Her family now has a foundation to help other people out there that want to be inspired, that want to join our military and participate in aviation. And I'm going to leave you with their motto as we bring up our next speaker. The motto of the Leroy Homer Foundation. We run so they can fly. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Doug Morse, Lieutenant of the Sacramento Police Department. Thank you. Thank you, right. Good morning, everyone. An honor to be here. You all, an honor to be here with all our military veterans, law enforcement leaders. On this somber day. My name is Doug Morse. I'm the Executive Lieutenant of our Sacramento Police North Command that serves this area. I had the calling back in 2003, joined the police department, and the opportunity to serve out there with the fine men and women of the SAPD and the Sacramento Fire Department. And today we honor them, but we honor law enforcement and military all over our nation. Before that, my story started in the 90s when, started when I got the call to serve our country in the U.S. Coast Guard. Now, I know my other men and service members in the Marines, Army, Navy, and Air Force might not look at the Coast Guard as an actual military service. Get that joke a lot. I reassure them it is, and then I serve with honor. But today, like many of you, we reflect on what the last 24 years we've gone through. And I'll tell a quick story. Last night, that we were sitting with friends that I had reconnected with in a long time. Matter of fact, one of which I had to see since the tragic events of 9/11. The conversation turned to today and today's events, and we started reflecting. My kids were there, and some of their adult kids were there. And we made a pact that we're not going to let the story end there with a tragedy. And if we all leave here today, I encourage you to leave the story of resilience, because that's what today means. And as we move on and we tell our stories, like many of us are going to hear today, let's share that story of resilience. Thank you. We'll count the Coast Guard. Thank you very much. Okay. That's that. We got to keep it a lot. We appreciate it. Next, we're going to bring someone to the stage. She's got a very long title, so we'll bring her up as it goes on. Jenny Callison is the former chief consultant for the California State Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. Most importantly, she served the United States Army as a Patriot missile operator. Welcome, Jenny. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex and Allison and your team at Cal Expo for coordinating this event. Thank you to Phil Rios for your service and for inviting me here today. And also thank you to the first responders who are present, who just like the first responders on 9/11, run towards danger. We appreciate your service. After the attacks on 9/11, a military response seemed necessary and just. There was a terrorist attack on our soil at an unimaginable scale. When President George W. Bush announced a war on terror, I vowed to target terrorists and those who harbored them. I was on board. In May of 2002, I enlisted in the U.S. Army as a 14 Tango Patriot missile launching station operator maintenance. My first duty station was in Suwon, South Korea. I had a crew chief named Lieutenant Wolf, a young woman from Hawaii. As many of the veterans here will tell you, not all officers are created equal. Lieutenant Wolf was a kind and caring officer who cared about soldier morale. She would buy us pizzas, take pictures and burn them onto CDs labeled with Sharpie, and even made us matching shirts. We called ourselves the Wolf Pack. The name actually came from her husband, Jeremy Wolf, who was a Black Hawk pilot from Wisconsin. While we manned launching stations in South Korea, he was deployed to Iraq. It was November 15, 2003, that her husband was killed when his Black Hawk and another collided. Between 2001 and 2021, the Afghanistan war resulted in the deaths of 2,456 U.S. military members and 3,923 DoD and civilian contractors. In the continued fight against terrorism, 4,492 lives were lost during the Iraq War. These were people with family, friends, neighbors, teammates, coaches, pastors, and coworkers. The loss of their lives created widows and orphans and had a deep ripple effect across our nation. Since 9/11, it is estimated that over 30,000 military personnel and veterans have lost their lives to suicide. That is 4 times the number of those killed in combat. And unfortunately, this problem is not exclusive to the militaries. Suicide also greatly affects our community of first responders as well as correctional officers. In the book Tribe on Homecoming and Belonging, Sebastian Younger said, "Today's veterans often come home to find that, although they're willing to die for their country, they're not sure how to live for it." He also read something in this book published in 2018, which is just as relevant today after yesterday's assassination of Charlie Kirk. The most alarming rhetoric comes out of the dispute between liberals and conservatives, and it's a dangerous waste of time because they're both right. If you want to make a society work, then you don't keep underscoring the places where you're different, you underscore your shared humanity. The United States of America was founded on a shared truth. God is real, Jesus loves us, and he has good plans for us. Peace is possible, peace with love, not with hate. I'm going to end with Romans 12, 9-21. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayers. Share with the Lord's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge. I will repay," says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jenny, for the speech of your military service. Next, we're going to bring to the stage for the presentation of the Governor's Proclamation. We're lucky to have with us today a member of the California Department of Veterans Affairs, under Deputy Secretary Bill Beagles.
Good morning. As Beth said, my name is Bill Eagles. I am Deputy Secretary with the California Department of Veterans Affairs, and I'm honored to present you this Patriot Day proclamation from Governor Gavin Newsom. On this 11th day of September, 24 years ago, nearly 3,000 innocent men and women and children were taken from their families and from us. The acts of terror on that day were meant to break the spirit of our nation and undermine the faith of Americans and the world in this country and all that we stand for. But even amidst these horrific attacks, we saw countless instances of selflessness and bravery, of first responders running into flames, and strangers helping one another. On Patriot Day, we remember and honor the lives lost in this tragedy, the heroism of all the courageous first responders and civilians who rushed into harm's way to help others. Today, we also pay tribute to the selfless individuals who answered the call to defend their fellow Americans, unified in grief and an unshakable resolve to protect our freedoms and way of life. In honor of this day of remembrance, I have ordered all flags on state buildings to be flown at half staff. As we look back on this somber chapter in history, let us pay tribute to the American heroes we have lost and recommit to protecting and preserving the fundamental American values that remain strong even 24 years after this attack. Now, therefore, I, Gavin Newsom, Governor of the State of California, do hereby proclaim September 11, 2025 as Patriot Day. Thank you.
We are lucky here in Sacramento, ladies and gentlemen. We're lucky, we're fortunate that we're able to come together. We're also lucky that we have strong law enforcement here in our community. And we are very lucky that we have the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. And leader of the Sacramento Sheriff's Department is our Sheriff, Jim Clifford. We'd like to bring him to the stage, and we'd like to thank him, as well as every law enforcement person out there, the police department, the sheriff's department, for what they do every single day.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Thanks a little bit. I want to thank the Foundation Board. I want to thank Cal School Board Directors, Chief Walton, and all the Cal employees to put this together. Going back, think about, Chief, where were you on September 11, 2001? I was getting dressed for work, still in the Sheriff's Department. In the morning, watching TV, watching the news, when I saw the Twin Towers struck. So going back there, it's ironic that Chief Walton said earlier, our population living in Boring has no idea about it. It's not for to be out in the middle of this. Today, as a community, motivation, we ought to remember the 3,000 innocent lives lost on September 11, 2001. Instead of remembrance of those whose lives were cut short, we hold our hearts and families still carry the weight of that day. But September 11 will also be remembered for something else, the courage of America's first responders. On that morning, while most were running to safety, firefighters, police officers, paramedics, and countless others were running into danger. They climbed the stairs of the Twin Towers, knowing full well they might not come back down. They gave everything they had to save lives. They paid the ultimate price. As sheriff, I can tell you that the spirit of service is alive and well today. Every time a deputy, police officer puts on the uniforms, or each a firefighter pulls on their gear, and every time they medic answers they call in the middle of the night, they're continuing the legacy of heroes of 9/11. We must also recognize the bravery of our troops, men and women, the invasion years that followed, answer the call to defend this country. Many never came home, and many more still bear the scars of that service. Their sacrifices are reminders that freedom is never free, and that the fight to keep America safe continues to this day. 24 years later, the images that on that day are still fresh, but so too is our resolve. The resolve to never forget and to ensure sacrifices made on 9/11 continue to inspire new generations of Americans to stir and lead with courage. But in a tragedy, something remarkable happened. Americans stood shoulder to shoulder. Didn't matter where you came from, what your politics were, of what divided us before. We're simply Americans. Every single one of us was determined to show the world we would not be broken. One of the biggest lessons we learned from 9/11 called that we came together in that place for a common purpose. It reminds us that when we stand together, there is nothing this nation cannot overcome. On behalf of the men and women of the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office, I want to thank all of our first responders here at home, our troops stationed around the world, and every American who stands united in remembrance. Never forget the life lost.
Tuesday morning, September 11th, 2001, 8:46 a.m. American Airlines Flight 11 crashes into floors 93 through 99 of the World Trade Center, North Tower.
October 2nd, 2001, as a result of the terrorist attack on 911, ended on August 30th, 2021. Operation Enduring Freedom / Afghanistan, OEF, 3,448 killed in action, 20,700 support, wounded in action. I'll have to check with the other figures the speaker mentioned with updates. 18 CIA were killed in action, 822 civilian contractors killed in action. OIF, Operation Iraq Freedom, 6,848 soldiers killed in action, 31,000 wounded in action, and an untold number have committed suicide. There's 2 guys in my platoon have committed suicide, so that struck home when it was vacant. A pause to offer the Gold Star mothers and fathers who lost a son and daughter they got talked with. All of your son, your son gave all. Let's say not forget, God bless America. Thank you.
Next, we're going to bring back to the stage the NYPD reading of names from the Sacramento Police Department, Captain Maniuki and Officer Alicia Angeles.
Into you. Yep. Take place. It's all right. All right, start right. All right. At this very moment on September 11, 2001, the New York City came under terrorist attack and was 3,000 people died. The NYPD responded to the World Trade Center buildings and the show of strength and courage have earned us the respect in the world.
23 brave members did not return from ground zero. We honor them daily by protecting the American way of life on which they died on that day. They and each of you personify what is best about the city, this country, and our deeds. As we observe the anniversary of the tragic events on 9/11 of 01, take pride in history, we will remember that the New York City Police Department demonstrated the highest principle of service and humanity in our response that day. May events never require us to do so again.
We will now call the roll of our members killed in the line of duty on September 11, 2001. Sergeant John Coughlin.
Officer Ronald Koppler.
Sergeant Michael Curtin.
Officer Thomas Langon.
Sergeant Rodney Yellis.
Officer James Leahy.
Sergeant Timothy Roy.
Officer Brian McNaughton.
Detective Claude Richards.
Officer John Perry.
Detective Joseph Vigiano. What?
Officer Glenn Petit.
Police Officer John Delara.
Officer Moira Smith.
Police Officer Vincent Van.
Officer Ramon Suarez.
Police Officer Jerome Dominguez.
Officer Paul Faulty.
Police Officer Stephen Driscoll.
Officer Santos Velasquez Jr.
Police Officer Mark Ellis.
Officer Walter Weaver.
And finally, Police Officer Robert Fazio. Rest in peace. We invite back up to the podium for rendition of Amazing Grace, this Juliet Kennedy.
Amazing grace, thou free, thou wast saved, that had saved a wretch like me. I once was white, but now I'm found. One is life, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fear relieved. 'Twas grace that not we faith thus far, and grace will lead me home.
When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, His grace has brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Amazing grace, how this queen's voice sounded.
Beautiful. That's incredible. Thank you very much. One more round of applause for that. Really good job.
Guess what?
As the sound of that song echoes throughout the grounds here, we stop for a second. We stop to thank our first responders, the ones that are with us today wearing uniforms, the ones that are retired, and the ones that will go in the footsteps. We stop to thank our military veterans. Whether you served as a corpsman in the Navy, whether you served in the Army, the Air Force, Coast Guard, Space Force, the Marine Corps, we spend a moment to say thank you for what you're doing and what you have done, and for who you are, for being the type of people we want to be. As we come to a close of this program, and about our last two things up here, I just want to leave you all with an ask. Take a moment today. Take a moment to think, how can you live your life just as the folks on 9/11 lived theirs? How can you spend a moment of your day, not just today, but every day, to live in the ideals that unite all of us? Unite all of us behind this piece of metal and underneath this flag for one cause. Unite all of us for one reason. And that's so we can be better as a nation. We can move on. And we can continue to live our lives in the ideals of which we have all sworn to uphold and protect. We're going to end with closing remarks, just as we began, with the Chief of the California Police Department, California Exposition Police Department, Chief Craig Wall.
Yesterday, we came out and my staff and I are looking at the ground, seeing what a great job that our employees do to clean it up, update it. You'd be surprised what just rain and sun does to concrete, the amount of scrubbing they do. We protect the 9/11 Memorial year-round. We clean it year-round. But we expect big crowds and guests. We spend a little extra effort to make sure that we scrub the concrete. First of all, I'd like to thank all the Cal Expo employees that made this possible. I'd really like to thank everybody in the background, our IT department, not just event services, the groundskeeper. Today, this place looks phenomenal. Yesterday, as we're walking through, one of our event services supervisors stopped Michelle and I and says, "Chief, you're speaking tomorrow." I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "What happy note are you going to leave us on?" And I said, "Excuse me?" She says, "Every time you speak, whether it be 9/11, at a board meeting, every public speaking you do, you try to leave it on a happy note." And I said, "What did I do last year?" And she says, "You told us about how cops became synonymous with donuts." I went, "I did? Okay." She says, "What are you going to do tomorrow?" And I said, "I really hadn't given it much thought, but who are the speakers?" She says, "Well, Lieutenant Morris and Sheriff Cooper." And I went, "I don't have time to think about funny. It is really difficult to follow two phenomenal speakers. And even worse than that, I looked at her and I said, Matt, our MC, has upped his game so much that I can't possibly keep up. I have to go home right now and rewrite what I was going to say." And she looked at me and she said, "That's not funny." I said, "It is to me." I guess that's all that matters. In closing, I'd like us to remember the legacy of 9/11 as not just one tragedy for all of us, but hope, courage, and unity for us to carry forward. Remember those and honor those who lost their lives and worked so hard at Ground Zero. It affected our nation completely and forever. We need to reach back to those days that prior to that and look where we are. I was approached yesterday, and in that conversation, I got asked, why do we always talk about remembering 9/11? We need to do things backwards. We need to think about what we're doing today that was changed because of 9/11. And I said, it's really difficult to do because we don't know what the future would have looked like. But what I can tell you is, as a country, and more importantly, in the state of California, our law enforcement, our fire, our first responders are leaders in the nation. So one of the things that I take from that is that we're better at doing our jobs than just about everybody else, from wildland fires to civil unrest and keeping the bad guys at bay. She asked me, what has changed in the last year from previous? What have you done? What have you changed? That was supposed to be part of my happy, let's walk away type of statement. I said, you know what I'm most proud of? And I have to tell you what I'm most proud of. Two things. One is finally, my legacy is my grandson has gone into law enforcement and he works for the Sheriff's Department. That's, to me, carried on the legacy of my family is phenomenal. I'm very proud of this profession and the people we bring in and how well we train them in the state of California. The second thing I'm very proud of, so each one of these stripes on my arm is 5 years. Between last year and this year, I get to add one, which puts me up to about 40 years of doing this. And I'm proud of everything that we've done and everything we've achieved, not just at Cal Expo, but in the state of California. And in the county and city of Sacramento are the leaders in this nation in law enforcement moving forward. I'd like to thank everybody today for coming out. I'm very proud of Cal Expo and how they present this. I'm very happy that you're out here and helping us remember the people who lost their lives and those who went there and gave their lives and came, and the ones that came back and their lives were changed forever. There is a part of going to a disaster that you can't ever get out of your mind. And the nightmares that follow and the bad dreams and all of the things that go on after you come back from a big disaster, whether it be 9/11, a fire, a homicide scene, a bad car crash, it doesn't matter. Whether you're police, fire, first responders of any kind, we celebrate all of them that are still working. Thank all of those who have finally retired. Looking down the road, I'm going to be smiling, I hope. And I appreciate everyone that's here that helps us remember that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Congratulations on that, sir. As we come to a close with our benediction, we invite to the stage Julie Beavers, chaplain of the Sacramento Area Fire Chaplaincy. I know that we are also here joined by spirits from some airborne brothers that their bodies may still be not here, but their spirits are. So Robinson, Rebo, Cree, Crockett, Rob, Ramirez, never forget you.
Okay. I will unapologetically probably cry today. Where I never apologize for pride. So welcome and join me. My name is Julie Beavers, and I am fire chaplain, the Sacramento Area Fire Chaplaincy. But my greatest privilege in my life is being the wife to my husband, who has served as a Sacramento City firefighter for more than 25 years. We all can feel what a somber week this has been with the recent tragedies taking place in our country.
Oh, wow.
As this is a day of remembrance, I'll go back 24 years ago. My morning started out like any other morning for our young family and busy household. Our children were just 2, 4, and 6 years old. My husband kissed us goodbye and left to work at Sacramento Fire Station 5, where he would be working a 24-hour shift, serving the community in the heart of downtown Sacramento. Within minutes of leaving for work, my husband calls. I remember his tone and his rushed words, which is uncommon for him. As he said, there's something going on. I don't know what. Turn on the news. I'm sitting in traffic. I just turned on the radio and the DJ just keeps saying over and over, oh my God, oh my God. But they aren't saying what's going on. So I walked over and turned on the TV and began to describe to my husband what I was seeing. I was frozen in place, watching, and both of us in complete disbelief. It was still uncertain at this time what exactly was going on, but we both understood. This is big. Big. He arrived at the fire station and told me he'd call when he could. I remember feeling strange and isolated, walking my kids to school, but at that point just being in a fog and not knowing what else to do, trying to keep a sense of normalcy for my little ones, while the TV images haunted my every thought. The school was more than half empty. I think only 6 kids in my daughter's second grade class of 20-something. I decided not to leave my children there that day. I returned home and I locked my doors. My husband ended up not coming home for days. Our state capitol building was considered a target, and our firefighters were on high alert. My husband and his crew were assigned to stay there and protect the Capitol and the community. They filled positions of our search and rescue team members that left that day to serve in New York City. I still cannot believe how clear the memories remain. My heart still hurts when I remember my firefighter calling that morning. Never, ever will we forget. Just finished there, tucked in my heart, is a story I heard years ago about an indigenous village. In this village, on the night that someone dies, everyone in the village knew something in their yard. A piece of furniture, a potted plant, a yard statue, something noticeable. And the next day when the bereaved family wakes up and looks outside, they see that everything has changed. Not just for them, but for everyone. That is how these communities witness and acknowledge grief. They are showing in a tangible way that someone's loss matters to them. The loss is made visible. We did this all over the country in the days after 9/11, right? We raised flags. We attended vigils and memorials. We lined up to donate blood. My children and their little 5 to 7-year-old friends walked around the sweat neighbors' porches and driveways, collecting $103 and a handful of cents in donations to send to the White House and help the victims of 9/11 after President Bush had encouraged us to take action and serve. People everywhere made signs and put up posters showing our love and appreciation and respect of our first responders. Even now, we change our social media profile pictures showing solidarity and remembrance of this day in our community. On a personal note, what if we actually aren't as divided as everyone is talking about? I believe we are all pearls on a chain. While we are individual with our own beliefs and thoughts and ideas, we also are connected by a chain, a beautiful string connecting us all. Now let us pray. God, I thank you as you protect us, as you guide us today and in the days ahead. You are the grand musician, Lord. Make us instruments of your peace and your unity as you fill our hearts and minds with compassion. Let us honor you in our words and our actions. Help us to see ways we can help others. My continued prayer over all of us today is go out now with hearts and hands and minds renewed. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he turn his face toward you and give you peace. Amen.
And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the September 11th memorial ceremony here today, but it could not have happened without a couple thank yous. So give me a few moments here. We just want to say thank you to the ceremonial services provided by the American GI Forum, the Cesar Chavez chapter, the Vietnam Veterans of America chapter 500, and the VFW Post 2073 in Oak Grove. We thank the California State Floral Association, Ambiance Floral Design for the wreath, the California State Fair Foundation, the Friends of the California State Fair. We thank you all. We thank Alex and his team for this today. Please, bring it up. Okay.
To the survivors of, family of first responders, thank you so much. You're the reason why we're still here today. You're the reason why, we have so much security in place because of what happened that day. So I just want to say, obviously, I'm sorry that your loved one, your first responder, that firefighter, that police officer is no longer here. But the fact that we're going to continue, and it's a promise that we're going to continue to remember them for many years to come, many decades to come, no matter what age we are.
It's important that we don't forget what happened 24 years ago. My son is only 7. I believe it's my job as a parent, a father, and a veteran to teach him civics and how important things like this are, and that we always need to remember those that came before us and look to the people that are willing to put their lives on the line to help others, and to not forget that.
They took a lot of Air Force people, and they went in to help do some of the cleanup work. I'm an engineer, and just to pay service and homage to those folks that gave their life and, was part of the recovery. A lot of people gave a lot of time and a lot in their lives to make sure that happened.
I think the biggest thing, we came together as a country, and more than ever, we need to come together now. That is so important. We're stronger together than divided. And that's the thing. Together we can do anything.
Enjoy your life. Give hugs every day to the ones that you love.
Never leave without saying I love you.